All right, so this is almost kind of a little update from what I did before. Again, with me running around with his uh, dangerous, dangerous enemies while he goes around. Just kind of showing off some of the things I've done with the past couple of days. I double the length of this level, as you can see, for not really much of a purpose. But one thing I did do was something I very much like. I can add tags to these blocks that will um, allows you to win the game. And as you can see, I now actually have a level selection. So there's multiple levels in the game, and the level I was showing before has promptly named test level, which I select with 3. I can't remember if I could fully dive. I have the little health bar, and I do get to restart, which is pretty nice. Um, and another problem I had was falling off the map at incredible speeds. There is now a point at which the game determines you're too far to be saved and you are promptly killed. Now, I can also show off some of these other levels real quick. I have level 1, in which I show off some non-collidable blocks that are part of the moving foreground. And again, we can stomp on this little guy and beeline it straight to the end. This was me testing a problem earlier where I had some bugs involving very long strips of land. And we can also look at level 2 that I made. That was more or less just me messing around with the game, making tools, and also testing a new bug I ran into that is based on how fast you are whenever you hit the enemy. As far as I know, it's part of the calculations where if you go too fast, then you both smash him and hit yourself. And so I was only able to repeat it by falling off a elevated ledge like this. But from the ground, I can do that perfectly fine. Now, there's another bug, and I highly doubt I'm going to be able to reproduce it. I'll give it a few attempts real quick. And basically, what it is that I was able to get the only situation in which I could confirm that this was happening is if the enemy is running towards you and you're going towards it like that, except for not didn't fully go through. It's only if the enemy is going towards you while you are going towards it at a downward diagonal angle. You have to hit it on the side. What winds up happening is it's another example where you get hurt and the enemy gets hurt. But if you're low enough, if you hit it, I'm going to give an arbitrary estimate of probably around a half. If you hit it low enough, then what winds up happening is it actually pushes you through the floor and you die. Now, I've only been able to reproduce this. I think I've only been able to run into this 3 times, and this was out of the many, many times I've been messing around with this. And knowing that I can't purposely recreate it anymore, those times were some pretty lucky flukes to begin with. So I don't think it's very significant, and I haven't found a way to really fix it because the enemies don't have collisions with you. So I don't know why I would shove you into the floor. One of the only bugs I really don't understand why it works. But I mean, it's something I can iron out if I rebuild this, which I do intend to, because at this point in the game, I'm considering this demonstration more or less, which is what this is. It's not really an idea of me trying to get something much farther than this, more or less just testing things out. And so at this point, if I close this out, I've actually gone ahead and put like a little note up there saying this is pretty much done. I'll probably do some more bug fixing things. But one feature I really want to show is this levels folder. This is where all the levels are from. It's going to read the levels from the text document. And if I can actually get this text document in here. So I can make, let's say we want to make level 02 or 3. Sorry, we already have 02. Open this thing up. So the first thing we want to do is get our background elements, which is going to actually be like that. We have a little header for it. And then you're going to start with a name for the picture for it, which I have as testguy.png. There are much more efficient ways of building these levels. This was just my very first attempt at making a level generator with what I already had, and it seemed to do a pretty darn good job. So we start with that, and then we start with some default x coordinates. with how I'm running the game right now, the window is locked to a height of 540. So placing at 540 puts it in that top, putting it at 0540 puts it in that top left pixel, which is where I want the image to start. And then these last two possible inputs after these commas are any extra or hitboxes. After that is extra modifiers. So I could say something like finish, or I think it's win actually. And what that does is that's what sets that collision, where if you hit the hitbox, you win. Now, since this thing has a hitbox of 0, you actually can't win by running over it, so that wouldn't work. Anyways, so after the background, you go into characters, and if I can spell. And this is where I put in the enemies. The actual playable character is not in here. They're called outside of the levels, completely independent of that, which is something I could definitely fix later. We had a hater. And so we're gonna place him, I'm gonna say about 320 pixels down, and you need at least 64 pixels up because each tile is 64 pixels tall at minimum, which includes the floor. So I'm gonna go 128, give him a little bit of fall distance. And the movable entities, so the enemies and the players, have a hitbox size of 62 by 62. It's a weird gimmick I used to try to fix a bug very lazily without actually addressing the problem, which was faulty math. And then moving on, this is where a bulk of the map is put into place. We have the items. So we're just going to go in with grass PNG and go ahead and start this at 064. The 64 is defining the top left corner. So since it's 64 tall, the image file, then I can get away with that. Now, it's also, I believe, 720 pixels long. And then we can do rest PNG. We can get a second one. No more than that, though. So 720, 64, 720, 64. And then I can go ahead and add some bricks in as well. I like adding one behind the spawn to catch your character, have one or two. So X coordinate's going to be negative 64, Y coordinate's going to be 64. I'll make it 128, so it's I don't want that extra corner node. I don't need it, just for the sake of showing this off. So we have that, and that's a good test. So we'll go ahead and save that in, and we'll load up this game. So as you can see, the level 3 is loaded up. It's actually notified, and I can press 3 to start it up. And this new level is made. This was the newest brick we made, and that is a bug that I actually just fixed, or more or less fixed, and it is me being very lazy with how these files are read, and me forgetting to add a return. At the very end of it, it was chopping off that 4 of the 64 and was reading its hitbox as 6, which probably isn't a good idea. And here's another bug where this guy's hurtbox is actually slightly taller than him. Cool, I can fix that. Well, yeah, this is the new level that was just built. We can stomp on our little enemy and crawl off the map, and then restart and load up another level. And so this is where I'm kind of saying I'm done with the game, because most of the more advanced things I might want to add are definitely something that are out of reach with what I have so far, because there's a lot of foundational errors. Again, I was using this to learn Python programming language along with the module of Pygame, which is what I used to build this. It does a very good job at helping with display along with keyboard inputs, and made things a lot smoother. And so because I was more or less using this as a learning, experimenting, I never really expected it to even get this far. And a lot of these things are filled with rookie errors. And it's, like I said, it's broken on a very foundational error. So adding really much of anything more would more or less prompt completely rebuilding it, which is why I'm going to say this project right here has kind of come to an end. I'm intending to make another one, though, actually rebuild it. But my original goal was to at least finish this, so I can say I have something that's actually done and finished to be able to show off. And so I believe that's all the changes I've made since the last update. So finish line might have already been in there, but we added fall. I added the fall damage level loading, which I really like the level loading. It reads it from a text document instead of being hard coded in, which the hard code was in the last video, and that was the first thing I went to fix. And then I went ahead and made it for displaying that main menu, which also made me run into some bugs with Pygame that I can address probably some other time. But yeah, this is all a pretty fun project. Again, just more or less showing this as almost like a personal documenting. I guess the public can see if they want. But there we go. That's well, as a little bar, it suggests game 03 done, even though it's actually only the first. The other two were not really games. But anyways, that's about it. That's all I've really kind of got to show. I don't really have that many brutal bugs anymore. I still have the camera misalignment, and I guess that's kind of a problem. I guess that's about it. Yeah.